Good morning, USA. Good morning, USA. Not sure if talked about, but Utah offensive coordinator Andy Ludwig just stepped down. That's pretty perfect because I was about to read to you like, all right, well, what in the hell is going on at Utah where they have scored 36 combined points the last 3 weeks. They farted out 7 points at home against TCU, who had just given up 30 to Houston on their home field. For context, Houston has 14 combined points in 3 Big 12 games outside of the 30 ball that they put on TCU. And you scored 7 at home. I know as a true freshman quarterback, he's got a lot of reps at this point, and you just should have a better infrastructure there. Utah fans told us all offseason, you have no idea what's coming with this program. We are levels above you. This is a Big Ten-esque program. It is an insult that we are in the Big 12. And I'm sorry, but if that is the case, then you have to be better than this, even if you have an injury to your veteran starting quarterback. It happens, and teams plug in somebody else, and they play better than this. One quarterback injury does not make things look like that, the way that it has gone down the last couple of weeks for the Utes. They're 4-3. I mean, this very easily could still turn into like an 8-4, 7-5 maybe type of season. And you could come back at the end of the year and say, okay, John, they lost their starting quarterback again. They still put together a couple of above 500 seasons, and now they'll hit their stride more with Isaac Wilson. But it's not just that it's happening, it's the way that it's happening right now and the way that it looks. And there seem to be big problems with the offensive line. They rushed the ball for 68 yards on TCU, and I'm sorry, but man, ever since those guys from 2022 left that we were talking about there, TCU's been pretty soft. Like, that's a team you should be able to run the ball against. And we, all the analogies that we heard about how tough Utah was, like a hurricane of nails and all that, they're going to be this tough bowling ball machine that runs through the Big 12. You should still be physically punishing people, even if you have a young quarterback back there. And that is not happening. So there are some issues. There are some issues going on. And so it makes sense that Good Morning USA points out Utah offensive coordinator Andy Ludwig just stepped down. I had this quote from Kyle Whittingham in his post-game press conference yesterday. I guess that technically was probably today, in the early morning hours of today. Thank you, Big 12 After Dark. But he was asked about making personnel changes with the offensive coaching staff, and he said, quote, "Everything's up in the air right now. Everything's up for evaluation. And we will evaluate." That's the end of the quote. Well, apparently they evaluated, and the decision came as Andy Ludwig is going to step down, take the fall for it right now. They needed to do something. I mean, honestly, it had been that bad that somebody's head probably had to roll in one form or fashion. Maybe not necessarily a firing, but you needed to make some change. The definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. Something had to be tweaked. At least that is something. I don't know how much of a difference that will really make, but look at, like, say, Iowa State. Iowa State lost a really good offensive coordinator. They went in-house to plug somebody else in, and their offense is, better. Like, they look better from finding an in-house guy. K-State plugged in Connor Riley this year as offensive coordinator, in-house guy when Colin Klein leaves, and K-State now in terms of yards per play is the number one offense in the Big 12, thanks to my guy Cole Manbeck for that stat. So they've kept rolling with that. So if Utah really is a program that is up to the bar, we can say it that way, at the bar that was set by the fan base this offseason, they should be able to do that. You should be able to move the next guy up from inside the program to take over. Clearly, they feel very strongly about internal hires within the program. That's why Morgan Scalley, the defensive coordinator, is the head coach in waiting. Like, they feel very good about Kyle Whittingham's system. You got to have more answers than this offensively. Cam Rising's a very good quarterback. He should not mean that much that the bottom just completely drops out. So this is, that video I did last week that I clipped from a live show, Harsh Dose of Reality for Utah fans. I mean, it got even harsher. My take last week was, well, Utah fancied itself above the rest of these Big 12 schools, they are actually very much the same. It's going to take hitting developmental cycles right. And when you peak on that, you can certainly be somebody that competes to win 10 or 11 games. And now in this day and age, a playoff spot in a Big 12 championship, but you probably won't be able to just do that every single year. And we're seeing the realities of that. A performance like what they have put out there on Saturday makes you think, are they even on that level? Like, are they on an Oklahoma State, K-State sort of level? Are they? I don't know. Iowa State, fair enough to mention Iowa State, because even though they've had some dips under Matt Campbell here, it's not been like that. Yes, Iowa State had a 4-8 season in there. Maybe I'm being a little revisionist history with that, but man, it's rough, Utes. And that should be a very humbling dose of reality about what the program is. It is much, 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 much more similar to the rest of these Big 12 schools than it is different. Even if you were able to beat Lincoln Riley and USC a couple of times in Pac-12 championship games, right? Still is... and that was just once, maybe, right? Once. But you make a couple Rose Bowls, you win a couple Pac-12 titles. It does not mean that you are a program that is above everybody else in this league. That has bore itself out. All right. A couple other super chats here. StatCat. What's up, StatCat? I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. StatCat says Big 12 gets 2 teams in the playoff if BYU and Iowa State win out. Iowa State wins the Big 12. SMU wins the ACC. Okay, so BYU, Iowa State win out. Iowa State beats BYU in the championship game. Both teams get in. SMU wins the ACC, undefeated Big 12 champ and one-loss team. Oh, with a win on the ACC champ. Okay. So the point that you're making about SMU is not as much a prediction as it is that will help BYU. Yes, that will help BYU, and it continues to help BYU that SMU is still winning games. You are correct about that. That is definitely a positive. That win has aged very well. A road win, albeit before a quarterback switch for the Mustangs, but doesn't matter. That's still a huge, huge win. It's going to look good. So it's a good point. It's a good point, StatCat. Everybody, I know it pains everybody around here, but yeah, be an SMU fan. Root for the Mustangs. Yeah. Rise and Shout. What's up, Rise and Shout? ISU or Iowa State looks good at 7-0, but barely beat UCF on a 4-game losing streak, 38-35. That's a bad sign. Crap. BYU's in the exact same boat. Hey, Rise and Shout. I see the BYU flag there. This will be my message to you, because you are taking very much the pessimist point of view on what unfolded on Saturday and what's taken place so far this season. Here's my message, man. BYU 7-0. BYU was picked 13th in the league this year. They're 7-0. Enjoy the ride. That was like a once-in-a-lifetime historic sort of ending to a game that you saw at LaVell Edwards Stadium on Friday. Soak it in, my friend. Enjoy it. If you can't take the time to enjoy this and what's happening right now without being overly worried about, hey, Oklahoma State's a bad team and we almost lost them, there will be time for that, but take this in, my friend. This is a hell of a season, and it's an awesome, awesome ride. Let me tell you this much, Rise and Shout, as a K-State fan, in fairness, my second year of working full-time covering the team, like big boy job covering the team, was 2012, and so I was traveling, doing pregame radio and all that jazz. And at the time, I was in a little bit more of a mode of like, all right, I'm trying to be less of a fan and more media guy, and taking that route and being more critical. And the 2012 season where they're unbeaten in, they're number one in the BCS in November. I to this day will say I did not enjoy it as much as I should have, because I was worried about a lot of things. The job was stressful, and there were a lot of reasons for that, but I was doing too much of this instead of like, hey, the Cats are undefeated, man. They're the number one team in the country. Like, this doesn't happen every day. Just take it in.